Now we are going to start with the basic structure of the cell. So when we talk about the component of cell, so what do we have actually? We know that cell is made up of cell membrane. Cell is made up of cell membrane, and everything that it contains inside is called as protoplasm. Is called as protoplasm. What is protoplasm? It is living material of cell. It is living material of cell, which is being divided into two parts. That is the liquid part which is present within the cell, that is the cytoplasm, and the one which is present in this the main controlling center is the nucleus. So cell consists of cell membrane. It encloses the protoplasm. Protoplasm is the living material of the cell, which is divided into two parts, the liquid part called as cytoplasm, and the brain of the cell is nucleus. So as you can see here that if you're talking about plant cell and animal cell, they all contain the cell membrane, the outer one, this membrane, and whatever is there in the cell is just the protoplasm. So now we are going to study them one by one. So let us take the first component, that is the cell membrane. That is the cell membrane. As you all can see that this is a cell membrane, this one is a cell membrane, and moreover in plant cell this is a cell membrane, the inner one is the cell membrane. So cell membrane, if we want to write the characteristics about it, so obviously it is the outer covering of the cell. It forms the outer covering of cell, and how it looks like, it is very thin. It is very thin. The other name for the cell membrane is the plasma membrane. It is also called as plasma membrane. And if we talk about its nature, that whether it is living or dead, so it is living in nature. And what is the component of the cell membrane? So cell membrane is made up of lipids and proteins, lipid embedded in proteins, and the way lipids and proteins are arranged, so they give rise to a special kind of model called as fluid mosaic model. And you know that there is one specific property for the cell membrane, is that it is semi-permeable in nature. It is semi-permeable in nature. Now what do I mean by saying that it is semi-permeable? It means it allows movement of only selected substances into or out from the cell. That means any substance or any foreign particle cannot enter into the cell, and any substance from the cell cannot escape out even. So cell membrane is semi-permeable, that means allow selective movement of substances, selected substances to pass through. It allows selected substances to pass through. That is called as, these are the characteristics of the cell membrane. Now if we want to know about its function, so we know that as I told you, it is outer covering, so obviously it provides support to cell. It provides support to cell, and moreover obviously it provides shape to cell, because it is an outer covering. The way it is present, it is going to shape the cell also. So it is going to support the cell, it is going to provide shape to the cell, and moreover because it is semi-permeable, that means the exchange of substances can also occur as so that means exchange of substances can also occur through it. Exchange of substances can also occur through it. So that means so if we talk about its function, it is supportive, it provides shape also, it allows exchange of substances also from the cell to outside, and from outside to the inside the cell, but only the selected substances can flow actually. So if we talk about cell membrane, you have already done that this is the cell membrane and this is the cell membrane. So what you have seen in the plant cell, that in plant cell, outer to the cell membrane, there is one more membrane. In plant cell there is one more membrane which is called as cell wall, but no such wall is there in the animal cell. So if we talk about cell wall, how it looks like, so first of all it is the outer covering It is the outer covering of only plant cell, as it is present in both plant and animal, but it is present only in a plant cell. And if we talk about its nature, it is dead. It is made up of dead substance, so it is dead. Now, like cell membrane is made up of lipid and proteins, but it is mostly made up of cellulose. It is mostly made up of cellulose. But in case of fungi, there can be a possibility that cell wall is made up of some other component also. Like in fungi, it is made up of chitin, a very hard substance. It is made up of chitin. And if we talk about its like whether it is thin or thick, so compared to cell membrane, it is thick. It is thick. And moreover, it also allows these substances to pass through, but it is actually freely permeable. It is actually freely permeable. Freely permeable means like cell membrane allow only selected substances to pass through, but cell wall allow any substance to pass in or pass out from it. So that means it is freely permeable to substances. And if we talk about the functions, again it is performing the same function, that it is also providing the support to the cell, it is providing shape to the cell, and it is allowing the exchange of substances. So this is very important, that as I have told you that the cell membrane is present in both, but cell wall is present only in a plant cell. As you can see here, this is the cell wall, this one, and it is lacking such wall. Right, but cell membrane, this one, the inner one, is present in both. So this is what about the cell membrane. So you like now you are familiar that in plant cell we also have a membrane outer to cell membrane, which is called as cell wall. And moreover, the other name for the cell membrane is the plasma membrane. Please make yourself familiar with both the names, because you can get the question in either form. So this is what about the cell membrane. Now moving on to the study of the protoplasm. So we have seen that protoplasm is the living material, right? And it is being classified into two categories, or two components are there which form actually protoplasm. The liquid one is the cytoplasm. The whole liquid which is present within the cell is cytoplasm, like here also. Everything, the liquid material which is present is called as cytoplasm. This is all is the fluid is called as cytoplasm. But now coming on to the nucleus, which is called as brain of cell, let's take it in detail that what actually is nucleus. So what do we observe actually? I think you have written all those things, all these things you have summed up in your copy. So I'm just rubbing it out. Now coming on to the nucleus, what we see actually, nucleus is formed of many parts. I told you that this is nucleus. So the outer membrane of this nucleus is called as nuclear membrane. So the first very component is nuclear membrane. The second thing what we see is that there is a fluid again present in a nucleus also, because it is it is the cytoplasm only of the cell, but the cytoplasm which is enclosed in the nucleus has been allotted a special name that is called as nucleoplasm. So it is nucleoplasm. The third thing, we have a small body present here called as nucleolus, and the leftover thing we have here is the thread like structure, that is the nuclear material. This is what is the component of the nucleus. So let us study them in detail, that what actually they are meant for. So nuclear membrane, as you have seen, this is the outer covering of the nucleus. So it is outer covering of nucleus. Now if we talk about its permeability, that whether it is semi-permeable or freely permeable, so obviously it encloses the nuclear material, so it has to be selective permeable, because it's not like that any foreign particle which enters into the cell may get into the nucleus and may destroy the nuclear material. And nuclear material, you know that it is the main treasure of the cell. So that due to this reason only, nuclear membrane is semi-permeable. It is semi-permeable, that is allow only selected substances to pass through, whether from out to in or from in to out. So this is the nuclear membrane. So, and what is its function? Obviously it encloses all the components which is present in the nucleus. Nucleoplasm, as I told you, it is the fluid that is cytoplasm which is present in the nucleus. Coming to nucleolus, this round body, this one. So nucleolus is a small round body present in the nucleus. It is mainly made up of genetic material, that is RNA, and you know that it is actually a factory of ribosomes. It helps in the synthesis of an organelle. We'll do it later on, that what actually is the organelles. So nucleolus is actually a factory of ribosomes because it is producing ribosomes for the cell, and moreover ribosomes again, they are factory of proteins because they produce proteins for the cell. So as far as now nucleolus is concerned, so you just need to know that nucleolus is a small round body having its own genetic material, that is RNA, and it is a factory of ribosome as it produced this organelle ribosome. So that is why it is called as factory of ribosome. The fourth component, the important component, or you can say the treasure of the cell, is the nuclear material. So what happened, this nuclear material, like when you will analyze under microscope, so at different stages they appear to be different. So like when we see, they appear to be like this, a thread like structure. So that is why they are called as nuclear material or chromatin material. It is the thread like structure. This is called as chromatin material, but later in the stages of the cell division, they get condensed to form beautifully arranged chromosomes. Now when they appear like this, they are called as chromosomes. The center part by which they are held is called as centromere, and these arms are called as chromatid. Centromere is the center one, and the arms are called as chromatid. Now you know that this chromosome actually is made up of proteins, our genetic material DNA, and it also carries certain fragments which are responsible for imparting the characters to the person. That means it possesses genes. So what are genes? They are tiny fragments which are present on the chromosomes, which are hereditary vehicles, or you can say which are responsible for imparting a characters in the humans. So this is what is the genes. Now, and what about our genetic material? It is DNA, that is deoxyribonucleic acid, and RNA is ribonucleic acid, the full form. So we have only two types of genetic material, DNA or RNA. Some carries DNA, some carries RNA, depending upon species to species. So as far as our species is concerned, our genetic material is the main one is the DNA, but otherwise Nucleolus is a small body which carries its own genetic material, and that genetic material functions only for the nucleolus, not for our whole body. Otherwise, if somebody asks you about your genetic material, it is DNA, that is deoxyribonucleic acid. And if we talk about chromosome, it is not like that only one chromosome is there. There are, you can say that chromosomes occur in pairs actually. And you know that our each cell carries, except the sex cells, our each cell carries 23 pairs of chromosomes. That means the total of 46 chromosomes per cell, but except the sex cells, that is the sperm and the egg. In sex cells, this number is actually half, that is only 23 chromosomes are there, not pair, 23 chromosomes. So this is what is the nuclear material about. And if we talk about its function, I think you got it about nucleus. Nuclear membrane, outer covering, providing shape, selectively permeable, cytoplasm, nucleoplasm, nucleolus, the small body made up of RNA which is going to produce ribosomes for the cell. Nuclear material which appear to be thread-like chromatin, but later on in the different stages of cell we can just see that they are having a perfect shape, a ribbon shape, that is like this, in which the center portion is centromere, arms are chromatids. And what is the component of chromosomes? Is proteins, DNA and genes. What are genes? They are tiny fragments which are hereditary vehicles also, which are responsible for transmitting characters from parents to offspring. So this is what, like chromosomes are which we inherit from our each parent, which make us the 46 number of chromosomes, 23 from mother, 23 from father. As I told you that sex cells are haploid. That means they carry half set. So 23 from each parent, and it becomes 46. So this is what is the chromosomes, and genes are the hereditary vehicles which bring the characteristics from parents to offspring. So some genes you inherit from mother, some genes you inherit from father, and sometimes the genes of mother and father for any character just blend and give rise to a new character. That is the reason that you are not exactly same carbon copy of your parent. You possess some new characters also. So this is what is the nucleus about. So if we talk about its function, so obviously it is brain of the cell, because it is the controlling center of the cell. As I told you, it is treasure of the cell. So that means it is a main controlling center of the cell, main brain, because it is going to look after about all the metabolic activities. And secondly, if we talk about that, as I told you, it possesses genes also. So genes are the hereditary vehicle. So again, it is a function of nucleus that genes actually help in the transmission of characters from parents to offspring. And third, I told you that nucleolus is a factory of ribosomes. So again, this is a function for the nucleus. So this is all about the nucleus. Now moving on to the, like as we have done with cell membrane, we have done with cell wall, we have done with nucleus also. So now we are going to start with the cytoplasm, and we are going to see that what cytoplasm actually possess, right? So like in a meanwhile, just first try to learn these three things: cell membrane, cell wall and nucleus. Then we'll just learn them, write it, and see that if you get it completely. And don't forget to practice this plant cell and animal cell, because you may get a question related to it. And if in case you need to show any kind of cell, so it is better to show these kind of cells. So now we are going to start with the cytoplasm and the components of the cytoplasm, that is the organelles. What are their functions, why we do actually, and what are they are, how you can say that how they are helping the cell. We are going to conduct that, right? So in meanwhile, just practice.